And hello and welcome to the Jiu-Jitsu Times video podcast. I am Chris Zahar, and I have a very special guest on the line right now, Master Carlos Machado, one of the legends and of course a member of the world-famous Machado brothers. How are you today, Master?
Well, I can't complain, Chris. I just finished teaching a class, and I do what I love, and I was actually giving a testimonial earlier. You know, when you love what you do, you just don't feel time. You don't feel age. I'm always on the mat, active, working out, taking care of my body, and above all, trying to still grow my jiu-jitsu.
Of course, yeah. And it's just a constant journey no matter how high you are up there, huh?
I think I feel like we're always beginners in terms of the amount of knowledge. And I don't try to learn more. I try to improve what I already have, and in doing so, it makes it easier for me to actually break down all the other moves, whatever they are. You know, it's just kind of, it's amazing. It's a transformation.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you today about was, I suppose you couldn't say not too recently. When was it, about 2 years ago or even less, that you and your brothers were on the set of John Wick 2, correct?
Yeah, it's like between 18 months to a couple of years. That's right.
Yeah. Only recently, though, did videos start popping up about it, though. So I think that's why a lot of people were confused about how long ago it was. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, how did that go? How was it training Keanu Reeves on the set of John Wick?
All right, so what happens with Keanu, he's a hands-on actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you notice a lot of the stunts and the fight scenes, he's the man.
Yeah.
He's the one that does it. You know, the shooting and everything. He was always going to gun ranges. They have the place that you might have heard, the 8711, which is an amazing concept. Shad, one of the fellows that is a director and producer, was involved with the production. He he idealized that, and my brother Hegan was instrumental because, he kind of put together, some of the jiu-jitsu, and then they have a whole group of stunt people that are ongoing training, and they're versed in several different martial arts. But Keanu himself, he spent quite some time on the mat doing, a lot of the sweeps, the triangles, and mixing up they call gun-jitsu. It's just like he will just kind of exploit, the fact that he's a professional, assassin. And, it's quite interesting and entertaining to see the product beforehand, all the scenes and stuff. Keanu's a very humble guy, too. He's very low-key. When I first saw him, he was wearing a gi I gave him a gi, he had a Machado gi. My brother Hegan was, out of us, the one that actually had more contact with Keanu. And did his PR with me and my other brothers that we came along at 8711, and each of us, the brothers, taught Keanu a particular move. Also on my turn, I taught him a lot about the breathing. Because he was kind of, before he got to us, he was probably working out for at least 40 minutes. And he was going at a good pace, so he was already humping and puffing. By the time he got to us, can you imagine that? You were like 40 minutes of workout, and then you have to wrestle each of the Machado brothers.
Yeah, that's got to be intense. Yeah, I heard he was a really intense guy, though. He really puts his heart into that jiu-jitsu. It wasn't just like, some of these guys, they just want to learn jiu-jitsu for the role and stuff like that. But he just, from what I was reading about him and from what I was, just based on what I heard from him during some of his interviews, he was just really into it. He was intense about it. Yeah.
The thing, that's what he does with everything.
Mm-hmm.
When he has a role, he will immerse on that role. And with the jiu-jitsu, but the thing with the production of the movie, they cater towards specializing his knowledge, towards building up his skills up to the movements and the techniques that were to be used on the screen. So it's not like he was going through a regular jiu-jitsu script or session that you would normally do in a martial arts studio. You know, you kind of have. Can you hear me all right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're perfect.
Okay. So he has the script, and then he has the stunt choreographer that will, JJ is one of the guys right there who actually worked in the Texas Rangers way back when Chuck Norris used to do the show here. That's another story. How small the world is. I have one of my former students, Mike. He was he's a black belt now under Eric Paulson. He was the one that spent the most time with Keanu, other than my brother Hegan and all the crew at 8711. Me and my brothers, the other brothers, we came there, for that session with him. And in terms of intensity, Keanu, he's in his own world when he's working out for the movies. He's 100% focused. He listens to everything. He's a fast learner, and he doesn't leave margin for error. He really tries to practice, do as many reps as necessary. If a regular jiu-jitsu student had the discipline and the intensity of a Keanu Reeves on their regular jiu-jitsu practice, man, I think the level of jiu-jitsu will be at another level because he is 100% dedicated. And bear with me, though, that because of his career and all the different roles that occasionally he plays here and there, things change depending on what movie he's working on. So he has to actually cater towards spending the time on building up whatever he needs for the role that he's going to perform. That's one of the traits of great actors, and he's a very humble guy, very playful, respectful. He doesn't have any kind of like, you meet celebrities sometimes and different people, they act in different ways, like they're more, they're superior, they're this and that. Man, he's so low-key, We had a great time.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, how did you guys get involved in that? I mean, like, did the producers call you up? Did Keanu himself call you up?
My brother Hegan, he knows everybody in Hollywood, and he was friends with Chad, who was one of the main guys behind the whole project, and he became quite present. He went to New York for the, some of the scenes that were filmed over there on location, and he invited us over because we had more than one thing that we were doing. When we went there, we had the presentation with Ty Lopez in the afternoon. We had what else we had? We had an interview with the sports channel Sensei, which is a big, it's like an ESPN type channel in Brazil. They cover a lot of martial arts and sports. Anyhow, and Keanu was the main thing. We were there at 7 a.m. in the morning, sharp, and we spent probably like 3 or 4 hours over there. And we got to see firsthand some of the work that he had done. My brother Hegan had some input on it, but he had quite a few other people in addition to that were hands-on with him for the entire time. So he was really, I think he was practicing probably, 5, 6 times, 7 times a week.
Wow.
Like 24/7 kind of guy. So Hegan invited us over. We had several other engagements, but Keanu was the main purpose of the trip. And we wanted to be there for him, and he was great. We talked about his motorcycle business. He does custom-made bikes. He actually came with his bike, and incredible piece, customized. I'm like, wow. So you kind of get to see the behind the scenes, a personality, the stuff that he liked, that he has fun with, He's a very enjoyable guy.
Yeah, it sounds like it. He sounds like just like an awesome student.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. And, now, one thing I've been seeing a lot more of is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in movies. I mean, have you noticed that? Have you noticed that you're just seeing a lot more grappling, a lot more BJJ in movies and stuff like?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, before it was kind of dominated by like this kung fu style, a lot of kicking. lot of punching. But I remember a while ago I was watching the first Sherlock Holmes movie, the one with Robert Downey Jr., and the movie takes place in the 19th century, but you got Robert Downey Jr. doing an armbar on a guy.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. What do you usually think about the jiu-jitsu when you see jiu-jitsu in movies? Are you kind of like excited that jiu-jitsu is in movies, or are you kind of like, that's not how you do an armbar, that's not how you do a rear naked choke, what the hell?
Well, let's put there are three things here. One, let's backtrack. Hugh Jackman, when he did The Real Steel. Do you remember that movie?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, okay. So there's an interesting passage there. All right. One of the scenes, he's taking his son to the junkyard because the robots are the fighters of the future. People would solve their, disputes and the competition. Like the MMA became done by robots. They'll be trained with the software. So if you're a fighter, you emulate with the robots the style of fight that you do, and then the robot, she has an MMA fight against another robot and all that stuff. And he was taking his son, Hugh Jackman's character, to the junkyard, and then he was saying back in the old days used to be with people, and then you had Jiu-Jitsu with the Machados and the Gracies. So he kind of threw that dialogue in the midst of the scene, and none of us knew, because we didn't get a chance to, we didn't work on that movie, but we had no idea that on the screenplay, on the script, that they had used that line. And it's funny because I took my kids, I already knew about that because Higgin saw the premiere, and he was there with some of his buddies, in Hollywood, just watching the movie, and then all of a sudden, that scene takes place, and all his friends are looking at him and say, did you hear that? Did you hear what he said? The Machados, and the Gracies, and blah, blah, blah. Like, Jiu-Jitsu. And so I took my kids, but I never told them about it. I got 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl, and my boys came with me, and I was sitting there, and then, lo and behold, the scene takes place, and I don't say anything. They hear it. It takes like a few seconds for them to register. And then one of them asked, Dad, did he say Machado? I said, yeah, Machado and Jiu-Jitsu, and so it was referring to our family. So it's kind of like Jiu-Jitsu has become mainstream a long time ago. But because now you have more choreographers that have come also with a Jiu-Jitsu background. Many of the guys from 87 and 11 have black belts in Jiu-Jitsu that actually are part of their crew. So it becomes an easier transition because then you have the director, kind of giving them the description of how they want the fights to be, and the stunt coordinator adapts with the guns and the weapons and the grappling. I really enjoyed. When I first saw the first John Wick, I didn't know much what to expect. And then when I saw the fights, I said, man. And it's interesting because that movie kind of put Keanu back on the map. Until that movie came up, he was kind of like still doing some projects here and there, but nothing major. And man, that's amazing. And it's a good plot, just simple and but nowadays, I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has entered into the mainstream because there's a better understanding from the professionals in the movie business about how to gather the material that they can put together. Like when we first, there was one Batman, I think it was the first or second Batman, with Michael Keaton was still the actor. And we had a stunt coordinator coming to our gym. This was in the early 90s.
Oh, wow.
When we had our first gym. And he was going to every martial arts school and kind of asking us some ideas here and there. What do we do here? What do we do there? And, and then he would film, some of the things that each of us showed. And I'm not going to say names, but after all, I never heard from the guy. And then we came to see the movie. And lo and behold, a lot of the scenes that we practiced in our own studio with the guy were on the movie, And so we learned a lesson. When my brother John helped out Steven Seagal in Under Siege 2, one of the things that was make sure that we learned was make sure that we put our name out there, get the credits at least, give us the credit, which, they did. That's the thing about in this business, and I'm not trying to bash anything, it is the nature of the beast. It's not just the fact that you have a martial art that can be used in an exciting way on fight scenes, in addition to the standard striking arts like kung fu and kickboxing and so on. But there's also that dynamic of if you're not experienced or if you don't have the connections, you may be taken advantage of as anything else and get your product out there without being given any of the recognition. So like I remember Lethal Weapon, for instance, the first that Mel Gibson did with Danny Glover, and you had Gary Busey doing getting caught in the triangle at the end of one of the fight scenes. I remember when Jorge, my cousin, was one of the guys that was part of the people that were consulting with the group that did the stunt coordination. So it was kind of like it goes way back. It just took time a bit to, I think nowadays with the UFCs and the mixed martial arts and everything else, Jiu-Jitsu has become a major component, whether from the, reality fighting or, I believe, motion picture as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Who gets you guys involved in most of these movies? Is it your brother Hegan? Because I know his gym is in Beverly Hills, isn't it? He has a gym there, yeah.
Hegan is instructor of the stars. Oh, sorry. You there? Can you hear me?
Yep, I got it.
He's instructor of the stars.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with Ashton Kutcher. He has so many guys out there that have been, Charles Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy. And,
yeah.
I don't even know. I have to actually go through his Facebook. I know Vin Diesel took him to the set when he was with Jason Statham. He was doing some consulting there. Me here, I have more of a relationship had with Chuck Norris when he was active with the Walker Texas Rangers show. And, but nowadays we have enough of a knowledge of the industry, which is still cutthroat. You're going to have different people, if given the opportunity, try to take advantage of one another. But at least we have a reach that we can do some shortcuts that the average person would have to stretch a little bit more before they would get there. So yeah, definitely that's a reality there.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys got on Walker Texas Ranger? Because they still show reruns of that show. I forget the channel or something. But I actually, your episode, the episode where you and your brother starred in, that was on, I want to say, a couple weeks ago. And yeah. How did you guys get involved in that? Did Chuck Norris himself say, hey, I want to showcase this art? Because Jiu-Jitsu really wasn't very well known then. I mean, so, most people...
Well, Chuck Norris has been one of the greatest advocates of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, period, and a great supporter, in particular of my family, the Machados. He is the reason I came to Texas. He used to live in Los Angeles. I traveled all over with Chuck. I was his main instructor. So a lot of times he would do a movie. He traveled to Israel, did a movie called Hellbound, and took me there to be with him on the set. And he was doing jiu-jitsu. He had the suite with mats. I would go and train him. Benny Urquidez at the time would train him in the kickboxing. So we were there with him, back then, and one of the things is when the show started, the TV show was in 1992. So it took me 3 years before I actually moved to Texas. And my first school was actually inside his TV studio. He had a huge warehouse that was where they would film all the indoor scenes for his show. And basically, I had my gym right there. I had one of the rooms where I would put wrestling mats. I had a desk, and that's how we went. And I remember as I added a lot of new members coming in, new students, eventually when they did the scenes inside the studio, I'd have a red light buzzer that you would always buzz anytime they were actually doing a shot. And we had to make the students be quiet. Okay, you can wrestle, but don't yell, don't talk. So I was doing the class in certain occasions. I couldn't talk. I had to demonstrate kind of like whispering and stuff.
Wow.
And of course, that as time went by, we decided to kind of, branch out from there. I got my own location. Chuck still would come and train with me wherever I went, and I took part in so many episodes of his shows. My brothers did that particular one with me, but because they were in LA, they didn't get a chance to come and do as many. When I first started in Texas, I came in 1995. I probably worked on Walker, Texas Ranger every week. I was doing something because Chuck actually, he hooked me up with the show to kind of help me make some money until my school was built enough, that I didn't need to work so much. It was, that's the kind of guy. How many guys you know? He's a very gracious guy, very genuine. And he loves martial arts. He loved Jiu-Jitsu. His main move was the cross lapel choke from the guard. I remember one time I was doing a seminar to his black belts in Las Vegas, all his karate students, which normally he would have, I kid you not, Chris, over 1,000 people attending the seminar.
Jesus.
He was like in this huge convention room, and we had no mats. It was carpet. So we had to actually grapple. You know how we used to do back in the old days, just like the way we taught Jiu-Jitsu was during a seminar, you just have to wrestle whoever shows up and tap every single person. That's how we tried to actually, teach everybody about Jiu-Jitsu. Nowadays we're more diplomatic because everybody knows Jiu-Jitsu. You don't want to go for a war every time you teach a seminar. I still enjoy rolling with whoever, but anyhow, and Chuck Norris, he was actually, wrestling all the guys too. He was a blue belt then, I remember. And, man, he was just going, and he wrestled like 5 or 6 or 7 different guys, and he was stepping everybody the same way. He would pull guard, hold the guys down, and do the choke, and then went from there. I have to say something about Chuck Norris. We had different students that had different abilities. He had photographic memory.
Wow.
If you taught him a move once, that's all he took. He would just learn right off the bat and start using it right away.
Wow.
I think that if he had a chance to do Jiu-Jitsu at an earlier time in his life, a little, when he was a little younger, who knows what kind of grappler he would have become, because he was extremely talented and very fast learner. But we had a great time. I mean, Chuck, I occasionally get in touch with him, but now he's retired, lives with his family. He still has a set of twins. I think they're 17 years old. So, I'm good friends with his son, Eric Norris. He works with Agents of the Shield, and he's, I think, one of the assistant directors or stunt coordinators. And a great guy. He's always involved in different productions. Very gracious person, So I'll tell you, man, it was a great time when I first came to Texas. Great time.
Yeah, absolutely. You think his judo background helped him? Because I believe he was a judo black belt before he started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped him out a lot with his moves, or did he just kind of have this just natural ability to do really well?
He was always inquisitive about any martial arts. When he was in Korea, if you read his biography, some of his books, he kind of relays how everything went with his life. And then when he was stationed in Korea, he got exposed to grappling, to judo. He was doing judo while he was there, and he became good friends with Gila Bell, who at the time was in the peak of his judo career and stuff. And so he was not lame when it comes to grappling, but of course, the technicality of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all the transitions, he didn't have then all the grasp, that Jiu-Jitsu offers, and for him, I think too, the fact that he was an actor full time and stuff, he didn't want to get hit in the face when he was doing sparring. He had to do controlled sparring, more like just practicing the kicks and stuff. And grappling became a perfect tool for him because, he wouldn't get any bruises or anything, and then he would just kind of, could practice as hard as he wanted, and still be okay to film afterwards. So it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's, of course, why a lot of people nowadays love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so much. It's an effective martial art, but it has a very low injury risk.
Well, it depends how you train. No, even Jiu-Jitsu, though, if you if you go hard all the time, it's not that you may get hurt with an injury because of the training, although it can happen. But you're gonna wear out your body a little faster, and pay a price for it. Because you need to. Technique is number one. You really have to focus on. My whole concept of jiu-jitsu today is evasion. All I train most of the time is not submission. I try to submit the guys as I escape from their submissions. I feel it's a game comfortable for me. I can take my time, and it has longevity added to it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's just an amazing story about him. I always knew that Chuck Norris was really good at martial arts. I never knew he just had that type of photographic memory or anything.
Yeah, and he didn't care about who he was going against. He would train with anybody. You know what I'm saying? He was just like happy to roll. He was happy, man. Jiu-Jitsu for him was like, but as everything else, when he was doing the Walker Texas Ranger show, there's some interesting scenes that he and I interacted. The first time I ever passed out in front of a camera was actually doing a fight scene with Chuck Norris.
Oh, wow.
I was wearing a collar shirt, and in the particular scene, he gets me in somewhat of a collar choke. And the camera is right on my face. And although he was not squeezing that hard, a lot of times when you get caught in the choke, it's not the hardest choke that sometimes you pass out. It is the one that you feel you can get out of that sometimes you succumb to it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here, and I know it. I said, man, he's putting enough pressure here that I start to feel lightheaded. But then I thought, you know what? If I pass out, that's what the scene is supposed to be. As long as he doesn't keep holding for too long, so I don't peel my pants, I should be okay. So I kind of I didn't actually pass out all the way, but I was completely dizzy by the time he let go, so I fell on the ground. And then I told him, I do yoga breathing a lot, so I started doing some yoga breathing, and I kind of regained my consciousness. And then I told Chuck, I said, Chuck, next time you do, put pressure on my collarbone, not straight on my neck, because you constrained my breathing to a point that I passed out. And he was like, oh man, I'm so sorry, because he was very gracious with all the people that he would do fight scenes with. All the stunt guys loved Chuck Norris, because he would kick you and stop the kick right in your face, just enough to make believe that, he never hurt the guys. It was amazing. So it was cool, to see that.
Yeah.
And but I can say I did have the same issue with Frank Shamrock. Frank Shamrock, there was an episode where it's in a prison. They had some sort of an underground MMA going on in a prison.
Yep, I remember.
And in the fight scene, Frank Shamrock puts a chokehold on me, and the same thing happened. And I couldn't stop because the camera was right on me, and I kind of passed out, and then I got back up. And then I said, Frank, man, you choked me out, man. Please put the pressure on the collarbone, not on the neck. I thought that I was already done with that thing. But anyhow, I guess it's part of the trade, you know what I'm saying? Part of the business. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
So, but it's all cool.
Now, when Chuck trained with you, was he just training privately with you, or was he training with all your other students? And if he was training with all your other students, how did they act around him? Were they like, oh my God, that's Chuck Norris. Oh my God, I'm training with Chuck Norris.
Well, when you're training with a celebrity, one of the issues that you have to take in consideration is, in Chuck's case, you see, when you do a TV show is like doing a movie every week. The amount of hours, you do 12 to 16 hours every day to produce 45 minutes worth of 1 hour worth of footage for a Saturday night, show. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Just like
absolutely.
the amount of time. So I mean, it's crazy. TV is so much harder. I'm not taking anything away from the guys that do the big productions on motion pictures, but when you have a TV series, it's like doing a movie every week. And Chuck, literally, he couldn't afford to have anything going wrong with the training. Like if somebody bruised up his face, if he got deep burned or anything like that, that could be an issue.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to risk having him practicing with somebody, despite the fact, most likely the students will be okay and, be nice to Chuck. You don't want to give any chance to chance. So, and plus his schedule. He had to do it at times when he was available. And a lot of those times were not when I had classes. So most of the time that we interacted on the mat was based on privates. Most of the time. He had quite a few. Yeah.
Okay. Right. To sort of switch the subject a little bit, did you watch UFC 214?
Yeah, the last one? The last one with John Jones? Yeah.
The John
Yeah,
Jones one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Damian Maia's performance?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, what did you think of that? I mean, did you think he was, I mean, he just, it seems like he just kept on going for the grappling even though it just wasn't working, and then when he didn't have that, I know, he just didn't seem to have much anything else that he could use against Tyron Woodley.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You got to understand one thing, because people from outside, of course, they have different opinions. When you're going to take somebody down, the best round to make that happen is the first round.
Yeah.
Because you're not fighting a guy who's as sweaty and slippery. And so the longer the rounds go, man, the more sweaty the guy is, the more elusive it is to kind of hold him down. I feel here, from my perspective, I did see Tyron holding the fence a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then in one of those times was the second time after he was warned. The first time that if he did that again, he would have been taking points away. But, it's championship fight, and the referee probably forgot that he warned Tyron. So there was no action in regards to it. But he did visibly, if you really watch the fight, there will be two occasions where he didn't fall because he did hold the cage. I think here the problem there was that Damian was trying to do the takedowns when Tyron was not close to the cage, and so he was just kind of turning around and kicking the leg out, that single leg escape. I feel the strategy could, if I could say something, and it's easier said than done because you never know what's going on in the guy's head when they're fighting each other. But you have been more successful if he was able to attempt most of those takedowns by pushing towards the cage instead of doing, in the middle of the octagon. I think from a wrestling perspective, I had other coaches watching, and they say that you got to cut more corners when you do the shots, just to kind of engage more. But this is a technical question for a wrestling coach. My perspective here, I think I commend Damian for his the fact that he was already there as a top contender to fight Tyron. But it's very hard for you to fight someone who is always walking around and away from you and sweaty, and trying to wait for you to give an opening for him to go with his power punch, which is a strategy that has been working for Tyron. It's not exciting to watch sometimes from a different perspective. If you're watching the show, you just want to see more action, instead of somebody. So different people will have different opinions. I think if the fight did go to the ground, of course, that's Damian's forte, and I feel he probably have caused Tyron a lot of problems. But it is what it is, man. I mean, who knows? They may fight in the future. Tyron, it's one of those things. We gotta wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely
You
does
know.
say either a lot about jujitsu or a lot about just Damian Maia's uh, just his ability in jujitsu. That he's what is he, about 39 years old or even 40,
Yeah,
close to
he's almost
that.
40. Yeah,
Yeah, and he's able to just get that far in one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC just with his
yeah.
jujitsu. I mean, because I really don't see him using much punching or kicking.
Well,
He's.
he did hit Tyrone a few times,
Mm-hmm.
which I feel from a setup perspective, it seems like a good thing to add. You kind of get the strikes, and then the guy, worries about your strike, and then you shoot afterwards
Mm-hmm.
instead of just going straight for the takedown. You know, it's kind of hard sometimes when you watch because you feel like the fight would have taken a new dimension if they
Mm-hmm.
ever went down to the mat. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And but that's the thing too that you have to understand. The rules of the UFC today are not the same as they were in the very beginning
Yeah.
because nowadays, the rounds are 5-minute rounds, where
Mm-hmm.
before it was like you had like let's say 3 rounds of 5 compiled, so you had either 50 minutes altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear? Can you see
Yep.
me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. You
sorry.
froze up a little bit, but
So
that's okay.
yeah, sorry, there was a little mishap here. So either you had 15 or 25 minutes in a row, no break. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're fighting, you're a jiu-jitsu fighter, and you don't have the break, and the other thing too, if the fight goes down to the ground, the referees were not so in a hurry to stand them back up. They will give more time for more grappling to happen. But we're in an age of entertainment,
Yeah.
so people want to see knockouts, they want to see action. I mean, I don't think UFC would be as appealing, you know, if they maybe adapted the rules to a way that the public at large can kind of have, more of the chances of seeing people getting knocked out here and there, just the
Yeah.
nature of the beast. But just the fact that Damian Maia finishes most of his fights unharmed, although he did get hit in the eyes, he got some swollen eyes here and there,
Yeah.
he was not, damaged to him. He was, he has been great,
Yeah. He
so
is.
far. It just Tyrone, with the strategy that he uses, you know, you're gonna have to hit him before you grab him. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the way I see it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the rounds because I want to say a couple years ago, George St. Pierre, he actually came up with the idea of just getting rid of rounds altogether. You
Mm-hmm.
make regular matches just 15 minutes straight, and championship matches just 25 minutes straight.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, that's reality right there. I think
Yeah.
that probably you're gonna see more finishes
Hmm.
if it was like that.
Hmm.
Because how many fights have you seen recently that some guys are saved by the bell?
Yeah.
Here and there.
Absolutely.
So many of those fights, have been the case. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
So
you'd see a lot more of them. No, and
and,
that's
and
actually what St. Pierre predicted too. He said you
yeah,
would see a lot more finishes if
uh,
they just got rid of rounds.
yeah, and I think for jiu-jitsu would be great because a lot of times you are on the verge of getting a submission, and then the round ends. You have to start the whole thing over again. You have to stand up, clinch the guy, take the guy down, and then get the guy in a submission. So you start the whole work again. And how much time sometimes it takes for you, even when you do the takedown, to kind of transition into a situation where you can do the submission.
Hmm.
It takes some work because most guys, they will not be in the octagon without any jiu-jitsu. Everybody will have some jiu-jitsu or grappling training
Hmm.
no matter what, you know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and speaking of jujitsu competitions, do you pay attention to a lot of them? I mean, are there any particular competitions that you usually pay attention to, like
Well,
IBJJF,
yeah,
ADCC?
I went to the last Worlds, IBJJF.
Hmm.
I've seen the ABIs.
Hmm.
Yeah, they have some students that have uh, that are interactive and trained that compete in those events. So I'm familiar with all the formats, and I think it's nice to see more attempts to give the competitors the chance to finish the match.
Yeah.
I think Eddie Bravo, DBI, he had an idea that maybe evolved a little better than what the original Matamoros was aiming to. Because Matamoros had more time, but same format as IBJJF. Although he didn't count the points, they both had keys, and then there was a certain degree sometimes of stalling, that took place. And with the, I think also the fact that it's no gi becomes more dynamic.
Yeah.
And then you have the overtime rules where people can see a conclusion, if that doesn't happen throughout the normal time limit.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I was just talking to Eddie Bravo, I want to say about 2 or 3 days ago. And one of the questions I asked him was whether or not he thought that Jiu-Jitsu would ever be on the level that MMA is on now. I mean, 30 years ago, mixed martial arts was this little underground sport. Now you have the UFC and even Bellator playing for, or fighting for, or performing for audiences at Madison Square Garden. And I asked him if he thought that Jiu-Jitsu would ever get to that point, and he said yes, but not with the gi. He said that, the only type of jiu-jitsu that would get to that level was no-gi jiu-jitsu, because according to him, gi jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like chess, it's a very intellectual game, but it's just not fun to watch. And it's funny because he actually mentioned your brother, Jean-Jacques, who's, of course, his instructor, and he's like, man, even Jean-Jacques doesn't want to watch gi jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
This is not a problem of jiu-jitsu or the gi.
Yeah.
It's a problem of the format of the tournament and the rules. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think jiu-jitsu with the gi can be dynamic if you change the rules a little bit. Like, for instance, I was talking about the 50-50 guard, that a lot of times people can use that as a strategy to hold the guy down. You have all those different situations where people stall here and there. And then, like for instance, Eddie Bravo, he did a format that, hey, those guys are going to grapple. They can try to submit each other. Time is up. We start from a position where you have actually a good chance of submitting one another. You can make a format for jiu-jitsu that kind of gives more opportunity for the athletes to show what they know, what they're about, if the regular rules do not do enough. Now, the scale of an IBJJF tournament with thousands of competitors, I think it's hard, I guess, with that set of rules for you to accommodate that number of competitors. And if you have to change the rules, I guess you have to make an elite group of jiu-jitsu fighters, and then have those guys with a format of rules that actually give a new dimension to the combat, to the fight, to the point where they're going to be with the opportunities to actually bid. There's not going to be any stalling. If the guy doesn't finish you, sometimes you can switch. It's kind of like what they do with the EBI, but modified, I believe. So I had my say on the Abu Dhabi, the ADCC rules. I remember back in the old days when the format was you don't score a point in the first 5 minutes and you can score in the next 5 minutes. It's kind of like, so they thought, well, the first 5 minutes there won't be any points, so they're going to try to submit one another. And then if the submission doesn't happen, then we do the fight with points. And then it happened the other way around. The guys waited for the 5 minutes to be up. And then they started to engage more when it counted, when they could score points in case they didn't get a submission. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would do the other way around. I would say, do points first. And the first 5 minutes, you count points. And the next 5 minutes is only submission. The reason being is if somebody is ahead on point, they're going to have to move to score points, whoever is fighting. And if somebody scored points in the first 5 minutes and there was no submission, The only other way that whoever has the advantage in points could make up was by trying to submit the other guy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just by changing the format right there, you know, you would have altered the dynamic of the fight altogether.
Yeah.
Because even Abu Dhabi a lot of times, you see guys, I remember watching Jeff Monson, who was very successful in the beginning. He had a strong wrestling background, you know, strongest, you know, as a Hulk. And then you just wait, time to 5 minutes. And then when it was points, you do a takedown here, a takedown there, score the takedown points, and then manage the fight from, you know, on the ground and win the fight. He won several ADCC titles using that strategy. A lot of wrestlers actually succeeded with that, you know. And I'm not saying that was limited just to wrestlers. I mean, even Jiu-Jitsu guys, they would cruise along the first 5 minutes and just try to fight and do something when points were counted. You know what I'm saying? So, so for me, I understand the idea of Eddie Bravo and where he comes from, and I understand his reason. And from that perspective, I would agree with him. If the format and the rules existing in Jiu-Jitsu were the same and no format has been changed, it would be hard to appeal to a larger crowd or be mainstream and put on ESPN. If you're watching two guys on 50-50 for 9 minutes, and then on the last minute, when they fight for advantages instead of fighting for submission. You know, you see guys a lot of times, great fighters, they don't fight for 9 minutes, and then on the last minute they go all out. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I would understand why it become kind of hard to watch all those fights. You know, I now see why James Rock, you know, doesn't enjoy as much.
Okay, yeah. Now, I mean, some people, even some pretty high-ranking black belts, they say that competition jiu-jitsu has kind of ruined jiu-jitsu for self-defense. Like, there are a lot of schools that are focusing too much on competition jiu-jitsu and not enough for jiu-jitsu for self-defense. Do you think there's like a big difference between jiu-jitsu for competition and jiu-jitsu for self-defense, or is it all just jiu-jitsu?
All right. I'll tell you what the difference is. Let's say you're doing guard, jiu-jitsu guard. And then I tell the guy on top, all right, please, you can slap the other guy while he's doing guard with you. Try to break free from his grip and slap him. Right there, the dynamic change. So it's not jiu-jitsu itself, it's the format.
Yeah.
You know, you tell the guys what the rules of engagement are, and I think you have to always think in terms of how do I get hit or hurt. If, like, for instance, a lot of guys, they go for the 50-50 guard, and when you can punch somebody on the face, you know, it changes a lot the dynamic right there, you know. So there will be certain things that they will have to skip or adapt so they wouldn't be susceptible, you know. But and also another thing, if your grip only depends on the gi, you have the warm guard. All right. So now, what if the guy can hit you and you don't have a jacket? I like to put the students to train one guy with the gi and one guy without the gi.
Oh wow!
I want the guy that has the gi to be limited by giving the other guy the opportunity to hold him in any possible way with advantage of grips, but at the same time compensate when he tries to control the other guy, not have to the same benefit, you know, of having the gi. So it's a very good thing. And then when you add the strike, like if you do a mount escape, an upa escape, and all the guy's trying to do is hold your collar for a choke, it's one dynamic. I don't teach people to do the upa. I teach people to spin under one. The first thing I do if I do a mount escape, I want to take the guy's balance. And if the guy doesn't have balance, one, he's less susceptible to submit me. Second, if it was a self-defense situation, he's less susceptible to strike me. And even if he did, he wouldn't be as powerful as if he's in balance. You know what I'm saying? So the equation there, you can teach the same concept and just adjust when you get hit in the head and when it's okay for you to go just for the submission without hitting the guy. So I think this is an education process. And maybe some instructors will have that knowledge, others may focus so much just on the jiu-jitsu rules that they neglect or don't care so much about the self-defense part because they feel their marketing for their school should be focused on making champions for IBJJF tournaments, which I don't have a problem with. I think competition has a motivational aspect. You can have a marketing aspect, but you can't deny a student their ability to learn what they need in case they have to fight somebody who's actually going to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So for you, if you're doing the training, you have to ask your partner. It doesn't have to hurt to say, hey, try to slap me in the head, but not too hard. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to block you when I'm doing that with you. That right there is self-defense 101.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can evolve from any position. You know, so.
So speaking of slapping, what do you think of Eddie Bravo's combat jiu-jitsu? He once described it as, quote-unquote, keeping jiu-jitsu honest. Do you think it will have that effect on jiu-jitsu? Like if more schools start practicing like jiu-jitsu with slaps, will that help keep the art more, honest, as Eddie Bravo put it?
I think when you develop the mechanics of a move, for self-defense aspect, you have to do it, take in consideration, protect yourself, not getting hit, or minimizing the impact, being out of harm's way, let's say. But certain times when you're doing the drills, you might have to develop the mechanics first without the slap, and then include that on a situation where you can use with the self-defense. So it's a study. It's a study. Jiu-Jitsu is a study, like any science. It has to be done in a scientific way.
Yeah.
You know, you have I give you an example. People concentrate on using the hands. I like to use the forearm and the elbows when I do escapes. The hands, I don't push people. I actually pull people when I'm trying to escape. And I feel it helps me so much more because I keep the guys close to me, and I can still push myself away from the guy and move my hips and do a regular strength escape with way more results than doing with the pushing. Just an example right there. You know, I wouldn't have not been able to develop that idea if I didn't practice the drills from a jiu-jitsu perspective. When I say jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is one, but with the perspective of developing the mechanics without worrying yet about the hit part. And then putting that together with self-defense afterwards when the mechanics is flowing. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And of course...
But I agree with him in terms that, I don't know, I guess you have to see. But I do feel you got to learn how to protect yourself. And there's no other way of doing it unless you have the rules of engagement changed for you to have you have to perform, taking consideration the guy's going to slap you. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Last question. Rickson Gracie, he was your cousin, was recently promoted to a red belt. He did get a little bit of criticism in the jiu-jitsu community because he went right from the red and black belts to red belts. Why do you think that they chose to just give him the red belt right away instead of giving him the red and white belt?
Well, I tell you what, if you could read what is in the mind of every member of my family, my cousins, I know his brother Hoyer wanted to give him a surprise. I was there. I did film on my FaceTime. I mean, my Facebook Live. I did a Facebook Live on my page. And it was more like I didn't discuss with Hoyer the behind. He gave me his account why he wanted to do it, and I respected it, and I committed to be there. So was my brother Zach, and quite a few of the core belts like Pedro Sauer, Carlos Valente, several other, Fabio Santos, guys that have been in the game for the longest time. And the common, consensus there was Rickson's above question, whatever. But at the same time, he himself, because of his federation, Global Jiu-Jitsu Federation, he's creating standards that, he wants everybody to abide by. So at that time, he was giving a speech, about what he wanted to do, and his idea was to make sure that everybody had a standard that they could refer to. But then halfway into it, Hoyle reiterated, and Master Alvaro Barreto, who was a direct student, a red belt, direct student from late Master Harry Gracie, said if your dad was here, he would have awarded you. Are you going to overrule your dad? Because it was not just the time that normally takes for somebody to get to a belt, but the amount of contribution that Rickson himself has given to Jiu-Jitsu all his life, But with that said, I have a point to make when it comes to this. I'm not sure what the criteria is with the different organizations, but I think it shouldn't be based just on time. For instance, if you get a black belt today, and let's say 3 years from now is the anniversary of the day you got your black belt, you automatically become eligible for a degree. And then another 3 years, another degree, and after the third degree, it's every 4 years or 5 years, and so on. But does it matter if you do any jiu-jitsu at all, or if you just don't do any of it, but you keep, your membership current with whatever federation that grants you the rank, and you don't have to necessarily be engaged in the art. And for me, I think that when you look at martial arts, if you don't have active, role in engagement, practicing and evolving, growing, you cannot get a rank. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to be assessed at one point in time. And, so I don't know how it works. I haven't investigated right now. But I know that I feel that it's something that I have a problem with. If you become a black belt and then, let's say you're a couch potato. You don't actually step on the mat anymore. And then 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you get a degree. That's an honorary degree for me. It's not a real degree. You know what I'm saying? Unless you are involved in the art. So this is the way I see it. But, like I said, I can't say for others because, and I'm not referring to Rickson, because Rickson, he lives and breathes jiu-jitsu. For me, I will not contest whether Rickson stays in the red belt as it is, or he could just to put his other coral belt and just wear that when he's 65 or whatever time that he enforces on his global federation. And I'm sure, Chris, that everybody will have an opinion. Everybody say this, everybody say that, and I'm sure there are disagreements that unless they all sit down and agree with a policy and a standard that everybody can abide for, there's going to always be one side or one faction that's going to act in a certain way and see things in a certain way, and others that are going to do it in a different way. And if there's no communication or a bridge between everybody, each one will be doing their own thing, and then we're here in the middle trying to figure out what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe there has to be a standard. I don't care about, look, for me, Tyron, I don't care if it takes 50 years for you to get a coral belt or a red belt. But I think you should be engaged as an instructor, teaching, trying to improve upon yourself, living the lifestyle of jiu-jitsu, and leaving a legacy that your students can follow. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, but like I said, I don't have the answer to some of those questions yet because I don't have the information from Rickson's perspective. What he wants to do it, don't want to do it, but he was honored with the fact that we all took the time to see him. I will honor Rickson anytime. I think he's a legend. I think he's somebody that has done so much. He's an incredible human being. And I think that what happens is if people just sit with Rickson, just to listen to him, when he tells you about jiu-jitsu, he doesn't explain the technique. For instance, I remember one thing he said was when he skips from the mount, he grabs somebody's arm and he glues to his body. And all of a sudden, the arm is no longer the other guy's arm. It's his arm. So as long as you make contact, that limb becomes yours. And that's how the octopus theory in Jiu-Jitsu takes place. You have two arms and two legs, but if you glue the guy's arm to your body, all of a sudden their arm belongs to you.
Yes.
And that's how he builds his escapes based upon. You know what I'm saying? He takes the guy's power and adds to his own. So when you talk to him about something like that, the average person might not even grasp. But that's the conversation that I want to have. How can Rickson just talk to me? They don't even have to roll with me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Luckily, I'm his cousin, and then he's gracious enough that he'll give me advice for free if I ask. But I wouldn't mind paying because I think it's gold.
Yeah.
And that thing right there, I use that for my own training instances, and I'll be able to actually improve my students' skates to another level just from a casual conversation.
Yeah.
So you want to try to get into the politics of the belt and just talk to the guy who Jiu-Jitsu, and you're going to be surprised. You know, if it doesn't blow your mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Okay, well, Master Carlos, so, listen, we can't make the video too long or else it's just never going to upload. So thank you so much for your time tonight. Any parting words you want to say to our readers or before you go? Or?
All right. I want to thank you in Jiu-Jitsu Times for your incredible work. I think you guys are a great blog, a great tool, vehicle, and platform to promote, I believe, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu the way it should be. You're unbiased, and you kind of try to give coverage the way it is and give everybody a chance to express their opinions. I'm honored to be at your show today. And if I can just say in full plug, anybody who comes to Dallas, RCJ Machado, we're always welcoming. We're having students from all parts of the country and abroad that come and visit us. I'll take good care of you. It's free coffee and free Wi-Fi at the RCJ Machado Academy, and I'll do my best to make sure that you're a good guest anytime you come by. I did write a book a while back that talks specifically about Jiu-Jitsu from a philosophical perspective. It's called Putting the Pieces Together. It's on Amazon. It's by me, and it subtitled says, Things I Wish I Knew Before I Got My Butt Kicked. You know, so it's kind of like putting the pieces together. And there's one chapter dedicated to Jiu-Jitsu that I think I'd like to honor what I inherited from late Master Rickson Gracie and my uncle, Carlos Gracie, who I did have the opportunity to lead under the same ceiling as I was going to college in Rio de Janeiro for 5 years in a row. So I got hands-on lessons straight from the source right there. And some of the knowledge that I gained, I put in quotes and essays on that particular book. So just check it out.
Oh, we will, absolutely. And thank you so much for that promotion. The honor is all ours because it's a huge honor to be talking to one of the legends of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's from one of the most legendary families in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It is just such an honor. Thank you so much for the time you've spent with us, and we hope to talk to you again in the future.
Yes, my friend. Thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.